Hey sophomores, welcome to the reading of Chapter 10 of Art of War. Its title is Terrain, so my guess is Sun Tzu's going to talk to us about the terrain of battle, which terrain to look for, which terrain to avoid, etc. We may distinguish 6 kinds of terrain: accessible ground, entangling ground, temporizing ground, narrow passes, precipitous heights, positions at a great distance from the enemy. Okay, so those are the 6 parts of terrain, and now the author's going to go back and discuss each of those 6 types in a little more detail. Ground that can be freely traversed by both sides is called accessible. With ground of this nature, beat the enemy in occupying the raised and sunny spots, and carefully guard your line of supplies, and then you'll be able to fight with advantage. Ground that can be abandoned but is hard to reoccupy is called entangling. From a position of this sort, if the enemy is unprepared, you may sally forth and defeat him. But if the enemy is prepared for your coming and you fail to defeat him, then, return being impossible, disaster will ensue. When the position is such that neither side will gain by making the first move, it is called temporizing ground, and the situation remains at a deadlock. In a position of this sort, even though the enemy should offer an attractive bait, it will be advisable not to stir forth, but rather to retreat, thus enticing the enemy in his turn. And then, when part of his army has come out, then you may deliver your attack with advantage. With regard to narrow passes, if you can occupy them first, let them be strongly garrisoned and await the advent of the enemy. Should the enemy forestall you in occupying a pass, do not go after him if the pass is fully garrisoned, but only if it is weakly garrisoned. Now, with regard to precipitous heights, if you precede your adversary, occupy the raised and sunny spots, and there wait for him to come up to you. All right, now we have a little anecdote. Chang Yu tells the following anecdote of Pianpu Chang, who was sent out on a punitive expedition against the Turkic tribes. At nightfall, he pitched his camp as usual, and it had already been completely fortified by wall and ditch when suddenly he gave orders that the army should shift its quarters to a hill nearby. This was highly displeasing to his officers, who protested loudly against the extra fatigue that it would entail on his men. Precipitous Heights, I'm not sure I'm saying that right, however, paid no heed to their remonstrances and had the camp removed as quickly as possible. That same night, a terrific storm came on, which flooded their former place of encampment to the depth of over 12 feet. The recalcitrant officers were amazed at the sight and owned that they had been in the wrong. "How did you know what was going to happen?" they asked. And their leader replied, "From this time forward, be content to obey orders without asking unnecessary questions." Good for him. Remember, if the enemy has occupied precipitous heights before you, do not follow him, but retreat and try to entice him away. In other words, draw him out of that tall, sunny spot of advantage. With regard to positions at a great distance from the enemy, if the strength of the two armies is equal, it is not easy to provoke a battle, and fighting will be to your disadvantage. All right, now this next section I have indicated here is all about leadership, so bear that in mind as we read on. Sometimes an army is exposed to calamities not arising from natural causes, but from faults which the general is responsible for. These are flight, insubordination, collapse, ruin, disorganization, and rout. Other conditions being equal, if one force is hurled against another 10 times its size, the result will be the flight of the former. When the common soldiers are too strong and their officers too weak, the result is insubordination. So notice they're going through each of those things they just listed in detail. And we have another anecdote. Tu Mu cites the unhappy case of Pianpu, who was sent to Wei in AD 821 with orders to lead an army against Wang Zizao. But the whole time he was in command, his soldiers treated him with the utmost contempt and openly flouted his authority by riding about the camp on donkeys, several thousand at a time. Tianpu was powerless to put a stop to this conduct, and then when, after some months had passed, he made an attempt to engage the enemy, his troops turned tail and dispersed in every direction. After that, the unfortunate man committed suicide by cutting his throat. Yikes. So, when the officers are too strong and the common soldiers too weak, the result is collapse. When the higher officers are angry and insubordinate, and on meeting the enemy give battle on their own account from a feeling of resentment before the commander-in-chief can tell whether or not he's in a position to fight, the result is ruin. When the general is weak and without authority, when his orders are not clear or distinct, when there are no fixed duties assigned to officers and men, and the ranks are formed in a slovenly, haphazard manner, the result is utter disorganization. Now, any of y'all who have sat in a brick and mortar classroom with a teacher who can't command respect or with a teacher who doesn't have any classroom management, you've just seen that at work. When a general, unable to estimate the enemy's strength, allows an inferior force to engage a larger one, or hurls a weak detachment against a powerful one, and neglects to place picked soldiers in the front rank, the result must be a rout. These are the 6 ways of courting defeat: neglect to estimate the enemy's strength, want of authority, defective training, unjustifiable anger, non-observance of discipline, failure to use picked men, all of which must be carefully noted by the general who has attained a responsible post. That paragraph right there is yet another recap of what we just read. So they're just saying it again in a different way. The natural formation of the country is the soldier's best ally, but a power of estimating the adversary, of controlling the forces of victory, and of shrewdly calculating difficulties, dangers, and distances constitutes the test of a great general. He who knows these things, and in fighting puts his knowledge into practice, will win his battles. He who knows them not, nor practices them, will surely be defeated. And you can apply anything you know of the Revolutionary War and the brilliance of General Washington to, again, to the fact that we won the American Revolution, which really by most accounts shouldn't have happened. If fighting is sure to result in victory, then you must fight, even though the ruler forbid it. If fighting will not result in victory, then you must not fight, even at the ruler's bidding. The general who advances without coveting fame and retreats without fearing disgrace, those whose only thought is to protect his country and do service for his sovereign, is the jewel of the kingdom. Regard your soldiers as your children, and they will follow you into the deepest valleys. Look on them as your own beloved sons, and they will stand by you even unto death. Here's another anecdote that explains that theory. Tumu tells of the famous general Wu Qi. He wore the same clothes and ate the same food as the meanest of his soldiers, refused to have either a horse to ride or a mat to sleep on, carried his own surplus rations wrapped in a parcel, and shared every hardship with his men. One of his soldiers was suffering from an abscess, and Wu Qi himself sucked out the virus. The soldier's mother, hearing this, began wailing and lamenting. Somebody asked her, "Why do you cry? Your son is only a common soldier, and yet the commander-in-chief himself has sucked the poison from his sore." The woman replied, "Many years ago, Lord Wu performed a similar service for my husband, who never left him afterward, and finally met his death at the hands of the enemy. And now that he has done the same for my son, he too will fall fighting, I know not where." In other words, if you create a family environment, your people will follow you no matter what, which was much to the chagrin of this mother. Okay. If, however, you are indulgent but unable to make your authority felt, kind-hearted but unable to enforce your commands, and incapable, moreover, of quelling disorder, then your soldiers must be likened to spoiled children. They are useless for any practical purpose. All right, here is another anecdote. Tumu writes, in AD 219, when Lu Meng was occupying the town of Qiangling, he had given stringent orders to his army not to molest the inhabitants nor take anything from them by force. Nevertheless, a certain officer serving under his banner, who happened to be a fellow townsman, ventured to appropriate a bamboo hat belonging to one of the people in order to wear it over his regulation helmet as a protection against the rain. Lu Meng considered that the fact of his being also a native of Junan should not be allowed to palliate a clear breach of discipline, and accordingly he ordered his summary execution, the tears rolling down his face, however, as he did so. This act of severity filled the army with wholesome awe, and from that time forth, even articles dropped in the highway were not picked up. So in other words, this general showed his men, I mean business. My word is my law. Okay, if we know that our men are in a condition to attack, but are unaware that the enemy is not open to attack, we have gone only halfway toward victory. If we know that the enemy is open to attack, but are unaware that our own men are not in a condition of attack, we have gone only halfway toward victory. If we know that the enemy is open to attack, and also know that our men are in a condition to attack, but are unaware that the nature of the ground makes fighting impractical, we will still have gone only halfway toward victory. The experienced soldier, once in motion, is never bewildered. Once he has broken camp, he is never at a loss. Hence the saying, if you know the enemy and know yourself, your victory will not stand in doubt. If you know heaven and know earth, you may make your victory complete.